Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It is us, Dragon's Greed Gaming, who are joining us for another episode of Mork's Madboyz, our Warhammer 40,000 actual play series. We're playing some Wrath and Glory, the revised edition, not the Disaster First edition that came out a while ago. And we are playing as all orcs, all greenskins, all the time. Because that's way more interesting than, the usual nonsense. As always, before we get started, be sure you stop by the old Facebook page. Follow us there to keep up on all the news for the podcast and what we've got coming down the pipeline. Check us out on Spreaker, where we host the podcast. You can also check us out on YouTube. Give us a subscribe over there. You can view everything in a video format. We've got some other stuff coming in a few weeks, hopefully. And then be sure you stop by Apple Podcast and iTunes. Leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us grow the channel. You don't even have to say anything. Or you can be like, I like ice cream. 5 stars. Would listen. Whatever you want to put on there. Doesn't matter. But all that stuff helps us out a lot. And if you really want to help, if you really like the show and you want to toss a couple coins in the Dragon's Hoard, consider joining our Patreon page. We've got a couple different tiers of rewards that you can get. Early access, weekly early access to the weekly episodes. We've got a monthly Patreon-only actual play series of Warhammer going on right now. And we've also got artwork you get every month from Kyle, various characters and NPCs and things like that. So check it out. There's something there for everybody. And if you are a patron, we appreciate it. We thank you guys. It's a big help. Helps us keep the show going, keep the lights on, get some new kit here and there, and make things better. And if you can't join us there, then just leave us a review, a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, whatever it is. All of it helps, all of it's appreciated, and whatever you can toss our way is always helpful. So we thank all of you. And speaking of thank yous, I want to give a shout out to Chris Stosen this week. Chris reached out this week on Facebook, said he had finally gotten to the end of Gallows Geis, and he really enjoyed the finale and the ending. So thank you, Chris. I don't know if you actually listened to all 88 episodes, but if you did, you get a gold star for that. I know it's a lot to digest. We had a very long campaign there, but it's really cool to hear that you enjoyed it. It was a fucking blast, and it's a story I've wanted to tell for a long time, so it was cool to finally see it all come to an end. And Chris asked for a couple of the maps we used for some of our Gallows End stuff, so hope you enjoy that, buddy. Whatever you end up using it for, I'm sure it'll be cool. So yeah, hit us up. We like hearing comments. We love hearing what you think about the show. If you want any behind the scenes, behind the curtain type stuff, hit me up on Facebook or shoot me an email over at dragonsgreedgaming@gmail.com. And yeah, or if you want to write us that $1 million check so I don't have to have a job anymore and we can do this full time, I'll even put your name as a producer at that point. So
looking at you, Dr. Pepper.
That's right. All right, well, enough of that. Let's hear from our players. You know the drill. Who you are, who you're playing, what your objective is, any other cool shit, and then we will dive right in. And I'm looking at Kyle, who's not muted at the moment.
Hello, it's me, Kyle. I will be playing Grave Squatcha. My objective tonight is to apply the cunning of the orc god Mork to a situation. And I ran out of fun facts. I used them all last night. So I am going to Universal next week, so that'll be fun.
Oh, it must be nice. What's it like to have fun and go places?
It's pretty cool when you have a hippie stoner dad that loves doing cool shit. So yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Cool, man. Sean, you're not muted either. We'll go to you next.
I'm Sean. I'm playing Peppa MD. Maybe someday he'll become a Mad Doc, working his way up. I rolled solving a problem with the brutality of the orc god Gork. So got to do
Ooh.
something violent and brutal today. It's gonna be a rough day for one of the grots.
Oh, we got
Uh,
both sides of the coin then tonight. Excellent.
yeah. And nothing really crazy. So, about it for me.
All right. I downloaded the Tau stuff for Gladius. Really enjoying that game, and I wanted to spread the greater good. I know, heresy. Most people probably are like, what the fuck you doing? But I think the Tau are kind of cool. So, if you don't like that, then I don't know what to tell you. Maybe we'll do an all Tau campaign, even though there aren't even rules for Tau yet.
Greater good, man. I'm all here for it.
Hell yeah. Who doesn't want to hop in a battle suit? That'd be fucking cool.
Yeah. Like a hammerhead gun tank.
Or just, like,
Railguns.
who doesn't want to ride a Crutox? Come on.
I will knife fight a changer of ways. Swear.
You don't want to build a Crutox, though. Let me tell you. If you want PTSD from building a model, go build a metal Crutox. And you'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's horrible. Horrible. Still have PTSD. And the kid I was trying to help at Games Workshop build it, he probably still has PTSD too. I'm like, help me, Mr. Games Workshop, man. I can't.
I'm not allowed to do that anymore because I swear too much. Go ask one of the other people.
Yeah, it's the dumbest design. Like,
Yeah.
you've been making models for like 25 years at that point, and then they just throw this fucking piece of garbage together. Like, oh. The dude's leg, I don't even want to get into it. I'm already angry. Moving on. Eric.
Hello, I am Eric. I play Loktar, the sneaky war boss. Tonight I need to customize a piece of war gear, so I gotta come up with an idea on what's next on my list of customizations. Yeah, nothing too exciting here. I have kind of been using up some experience to keep Loktar stats growing.
Okay.
I think I got an extra intellect and toughness.
Nice.
So
Good shit.
Kind of boosting some like war bossy traits, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's good stuff. Speaking of customizing, I finished customizing my Chaos Knights to actually have a command unit in them, and I'm really happy with the way they turned out. So be sure you check that out when we do our Tale of Four Gamers, because they are looking pretty sweet. Cost a little money to get the bits I needed, but that's okay. So,
yeah, I mean, Warhammer doesn't cost too much, so what's a few extra bucks?
Yeah. Fair.
To be honest, I bought like a banner piece, and then I also bought a musician's it's one of the horns from one of the Beastmen sets, and I bought them, and it turns out they were both from the same seller, and he actually refunded me the money for one of them. So because you sent them both at the same time, obviously, so he must have realized when I bought them they were going to the same guy, and then I got an email that said, "Oh, you've been refunded for one of them." So that was pretty cool. That was nice of him. Didn't have to do that. I mean, it was only like $2-3, but that's pretty cool anyway. So, yeah. And then the Chaos Warriors, they're done. They're finally done. I called them finished today. So we're not going back. And then we sprayed the Juggernaut, so he's next on the list. So it's cool stuff. Can't wait.
I gotta dig out my skeletons. That's what I promised.
Awesome. And last but certainly not least, Matt the Frog. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well, and I'll be playing Steel Rippa today, who has been blessed by Mork, or maybe Gork, probably Mork. So I get to pick a goal, which means I will be telling people about how Fasta is better. And that's gonna be my goal for today.
Oh, so you got the 12. I don't think we've gotten that one yet. Nice. Cool. All right. Well, I am the Great Unclean One, your host as always, and what else do we really need to say that hasn't already been said?
Wait, I
don't
wanted
know.
to complain briefly. I know you were
Oh.
talking earlier about getting your Final Girl Kickstarter.
Yes, by all means,
Awesome.
complain.
I too would like to get the stuff that I backed, but still expecting it in the mail. I don't hold this against them at all. Like, you know how shipping is. It's weird. They're figuring it out, whatever. But what I am angry about is how my roommate has gotten a delivery of like a Final Girl Pledge size box like 3 times in the past week from from various outlets. Or like he had gotten a crate full of hot sauces and like a huge box that was almost entirely empty. It just had like one big hat in it. But it was just like the same size as a big board game. Just like, God.
So
Please,
they're,
I
yeah,
just want
they're
my stuff.
they're just teasing you. Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
That's right.
Well, I know the email that went out this week said they were halfway through shipping all the U.S. stuff, and they figured in a week or two everything else would be shipped. So, they had a pretty big Kickstarter. So I mean, having done the Kickstarter thing myself, and I mean, we only had 200-300 pledges to fill. I can only imagine what it's like when you have to do 6,000 or something like that. So it'll be there. Just have patience, young Padawan.
Soon.
What else? Yeah, that's really it. There's not much else to say. Warhammer's cool, and I like painting Chaos Warriors. That's really all I got to say about that. So, what I do have to say is keep watching The Last of Us. Every episode just gets fucking better and better, man. What an awesome show. And if you were not aware, they have a companion podcast every week where Troy Baker, the original voice of Joel from the game, sits down with Neil Druckmann and Craig Manzin, the two showrunners, and they talk about each episode. And they have some really interesting insights, and they talk about their decisions, their discussions, making the show, things the other people on the show, other cast and other staff have helped with, and how HBO has actually been really helpful in helping guide them to make sure episodes are as good as they could be. So it's really enlightening, very interesting. I highly recommend it. It's very good shit. And if you haven't been watching it, you should go watch it right now, because it is fucking legit. So.
All right, Chris, I'm out.
And if you don't like it, you're wrong. There's no complaining, there's no arguing, there's no debating. You're wrong.
I'm leaving right now.
All right.
You guys can do without the War Boss tonight, right?
That's fine.
I'm gonna start Last of Us.
Just gonna binge the whole thing so far.
I believe tomorrow's the final episode, I think.
Oh damn.
So I don't know, but they've got a season 2 coming, so that's good. Very exciting. Anywho, last we left, you guys had gone on a little reconnaissance mission after arriving in orbit above the hive world of Dunavern on the outskirts of the Virgo system. You had hopped in one of the Thunderhawk gunships, and you had taken your new friend, Lieutenant Gorman, and you had made your way towards where Vashir had detected some warp anomalies, and his predictions were right when you discovered there was a fleet of 4 Imperial vessels, which were indeed from the system Imperial Battle Fleet here, on the lookout, on the hunt for you guys. You did some scouting and scanning, learning as much as you could, but eventually they detected that they were being scanned by you guys and sent out a hail. And you had Gorman try his best to fool Captain Vandian, I believe his name was. He tried to keep your little operation under the radar, and you're not sure how well it worked at the start. Captain Vermandian. And it didn't go all that well. You guys returned to the fleet, pretending to be Space Marines and part of the Death Watch, and you then tried to set up a trap. where you told them you had found an Adeptus Mechanicus vessel that you believed had been attacked by the orcs. You hid your other two ships behind the Rex Machina. You managed to lure the scout fleet there, and eventually you sprung your ambush. And although Captain Vermandian was not completely convinced, he was certainly taken off guard when you guys launched your ambush, and with a shocking display of firepower and critical hits that always happen in the first round of space combat in this game, not only crippled but took out his flagship in the first round of the fight, and the rest of the fleet quickly followed soon after. Although it was a rough fight, the Imperator, the Space Marine strike cruiser, has been reduced to a crippled wreck right now, sitting at 0 hull, or I'm sorry, I think it's 2 hull, or was it 0 hull? I know you're at 0 crew and 0 morale. I think
Yeah, we're not at 0, but we're damn near close.
Okay, yeah. And all the other ships are suffering some pretty major damage as well. I think the only one that's in relatively good shape as far as the hull is the Rex Machina, but its crew and morale are kind of messed up, and everybody else has taken fairly significant damage. The fleet has definitely seen better days, but you did manage to secure all 4 of the enemy vessels, either through boarding actions or reducing them to 0 hull or killing all the crew. You have now secured another 4 ships, doubling the size of your fleet. But the fleet is in pretty bad shape right now as you sit up in orbit above Dunavern, and that is where we are going to pick up tonight. So it is now eerily quiet in the depths of space as we sit here, debris floating in orbit, the ruined hulks of some of these ships just drifting through the void. But you have emerged victorious. What would you like to do next?
I think to start, I would have Mulgrim kind of assess the damages and see what we can repair, what we can scrap for parts, and kind of get the what needs to happen to get the fleet moving again.
Okay. Well, luckily for you, none of the ships went critical or had a warp drive explode or anything like that. The worst one was the Jackal's Contempt, Captain Vermandian's flagship. That one became a hulk. But despite the massive amount of damage it has, it still can technically be repaired. The problem is that it is at 0 hull, 0 morale, 0 crew, and basically every single component on the ship was damaged. I think there's 1 or 2 that were destroyed. So, given enough time, you can repair all of these ships back to working order. The most difficult thing would be trying to replace any systems that were destroyed, which would be the shields on the Jackal's Contempt, and I believe the Rex Machina still has a destroyed weapon system as well.
The Imperial was pretty beat up, wasn't it, too?
Yeah, I don't think it had anything. Oh, yeah, its bombard cannon was destroyed. You guys will notice on all of the ships, I added the charts for morale and crew. I just figured it'd be easier to have that there for you guys when you're keeping track of everything. So I think the first thing that you guys should decide is who's going to take what ship, since there's 8 ships and 4 of you. I think just for simplicity's sake, have everybody take control of 2 ships, and that way you guys can be responsible for those.
I get to have one of the fast ones.
I think it would be probably wise to have all of us take one of the little guys, right? Have a front ship and a little scout guy.
So everyone gets small and a big.
Those are referred to as line ships in Battlefleet Gothic, Kyle, the big ones.
They go with the Gambit.
Okay.
So then, yeah, Sean, you would take Jackal's Contempt because you currently have an escort, so that would be your line shipped. And then, Eric, which one did you want?
Gambit.
Gambit? Okay. Sean, you got Contempt and Purging Fury, and then...
Take Benevolence, I suppose.
Chris,
Okay.
I cannot move the Purging Fury. Oh wait, maybe it's my. Okay.
Oh,
Whoa.
can move the whole fleet, though.
Okay. I
2
got
hops
it.
this time. 2
Clap,
hops
clap.
this time. Everybody clap your hands.
Someone needs to delete this fucking thing. It's annoying me.
This. I know. I agree.
It's red, so I'm going to assume
Eric.
it's Eric's.
Which mine?
Use the
This-
ruler.
This fucking thing.
This
The
thing.
ruler. Hell is that?
On the left.
To the left.
I see the
left.
ruler, but that doesn't. Oh.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, my OCD was really getting triggered right there.
There was a spot on the screen, folks, and it was red. We all were looking at it.
Because we wanted to go faster.
Makes sense.
That's where the people are.
So Eric, to answer your question, rules-wise, anything that is depressurized or damaged can be repaired. You have to do you just follow the rules for emergency repair, which I believe is a DN7 tech test. Also, when you spend a week doing extended repairs to replenish hull, after that, assuming you pass that test, anything that's damaged gets repaired automatically.
Okay.
So
Does that use up
Ooh,
our
wow.
scrap, or is that just?
no, scrap is just our little mini game to add stuff to the tribe.
Okay.
It just takes time.
So we're at Dunevern. We haven't done anything here yet.
No,
we could
not.
we could send a party down to the planet while some extended repairs get done on the ships. I think do we have enough orcs that we could do both?
Yeah. So a couple things here. A big problem you guys are facing right now is that a lot of your ships are very low on crew.
Mhm.
So there are ways to replenish that.
I think we're gonna set up recruiters on Dunevern. We talked about it while you were gone.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you can, I guess you could, assuming you find a place where orcs could go and try to, like, quote unquote, hire or recruit people, you could attempt that. We have rules for that. A hive city might be just the place where you might be able to get away with that. And then, failing that, you can obviously just try to capture and, force people into press gangs on the ship like was done to you guys back in the day. So, and then obviously as time goes by, you'll have your tribe growth as well, but that's a pretty slow way to get your numbers up. So, it just depends how long you sit here. I mean, extended repairs are a minimum of a week. And every week that you repair, you can make another roll and get more hull points back. So,
What do you guys think?
I think we should press gang some people from Dunevern, do some repairs, and then jump to the Deathwatch Space Monastery.
because if you, like, obviously you couldn't just go to, like, an Imperial City, like, back on Telesaurus Bliss and, like, try to hire crew. But somewhere like Dunevern, in the lower Underhive, you might be able to find some shady places where you could potentially hire people that just want to get the fuck off the planet and they don't care about working with aliens, so it just depends what you're able to find. But I just want you guys to be aware that you could potentially use the rules for hiring crew on this planet, assuming you find the right people or you go about it in the right way. If you show up to the top of the hive knocking on the planetary governor's door, that might not work. But you go find some Van Sar gangers or something, that might be a different story.
And does that revolve around influence or
It does. It's so. This is on the Starship Rules, Section 11, restoring crew population. So it's just a requisition test, like you're trying to get an item or a piece of war gear, and the DN is based on the level of the crew you want to get. So the more crack crew, or I shouldn't say cracks, that's one of the actual levels. The more experienced crew you get, the higher the DN is to gain. To represent.
Do we just get full crew if we pass, or
if you pass that test, you get the full crew for one ship.
Whoa.
Because you could potentially have different levels of crew for different ships. So it's up to you. Like the Rex Machina right now, it has a crack crew, which is they're level 8. Whereas all the rest of your ships, I think, have just competent crew, which are level 6. So if you wanted to refill the Rex Machina, you have to try to get... Well, you could go for lesser or higher crew. It's really up to you. And then some of your ships have no crew, so, whatever you want. I suppose I would also let you move crew around between your ships. You can't mix different experience levels, but, if you wanted to take, all the people and put them on one ship so it's at full, and then you'd have one less ship to have to do a recruitment roll for later. You guys could do that too if you really want. So,
Ooh.
Yeah, we might have to do that.
Yeah. Sorry. So you said, Chris, that it's basically like an influence test to.
Yeah, it's a requisition test. So you make an influence test just like you're trying to get a new piece of war gear. So you can attempt this once per session.
Okay.
So each of you could attempt it in theory and replenish 4 ships. And then you can spend wealth just like normal. The idea that you're offering more money for these people to join your ship, or you're I guess you're not bribing them because you're actually trying to hire them to begin with. So yeah, you're having to pay more to get them on board.
Okay.
And if you pass the test, you have to spend 1 wealth to represent that you're paying these people to come on board your ship. But you can spend extra wealth to get extra icons, just like normal.
Oh yeah. Am I still broke? I am broke. Dang it.
And we can't. We discussed we can't pass wealth, right? Not, or I think we said not for requisition stuff.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because there were a couple of times I wanted to get something, and man, too much, way too much.
So it looks like the Benevolence has the least crew out of all of the escorts.
Okay.
So we might be able to divvy that one out between the other 3, and then just do a roll to refill Benevolence.
Well, I think crew-wise, we want to concentrate probably on our own ships, or Imperator, Jackal.
Yeah.
Imperator and Jackal are all at 0, so we have to roll for those.
Because the Benevolence isn't doing that bad.
Scarlet isn't either.
Lowest crew pop, but it has 0 hull, and that's its big problem.
Yeah.
Well, those are all at 0, so they're gonna have to get a roll, anyways, unless we strip 2 ships to refill it, and then we'll have to roll for 2 ships.
If we had to pick and hire stuff, I would try to get crew on Rex, which is 41 out of 100, as opposed to.
Because Imperator and Jackals are both at 0.
Yeah. The big ships need the crew, and the little ships need repairs. And Imperator and Jackal kind of need both.
Well, you guys don't necessarily have to decide this right now. If you do plan on going down to the planet, you can see what happens, and we'll assume that obviously your ships start the lengthy process of repairing everything. And then if you do find the potential to hire people or press gang them, then you guys can make those decisions as to how you want to move the crew around. So But it's up to you. It's however you want to go about this.
Yeah, because we could also hire better crew for the bigger ships too, whereas
Right,
the escorts can just take the lower crew.
And the better crew is like one of the reasons it was so hard for us to take over the Imperator, because that those dudes had like top tier crew and were fighting off 3 orc ships at a time.
So if we spread out the worst crew between the smaller ships.
If only you hadn't killed all the crew on the Imperator.
You know, sometimes bad things happen. It's not anything we can do about that.
Sometimes you just gotta start fresh.
Yeah, they wouldn't have complied anyway.
That's probably true.
Gracefully, but they didn't.
It can't all be Gorman.
Right.
That's
If
true.
only
man.
we had a fleet of Gormans.
Galaxy better place. That's for sure.
He works for the greater good, in whatever amounts to human heaven compared to Gorg.
Okay, so what is the plan? Are you guys going to go planetside and see what kind of mischief you can get up to?
Yes.
Okay. So Dunavern has, I believe it's 11 hives. Pull up my little... God, it's so tiny, I can't read. 17 hive cities. That's a lot. So this planet is, like many hive planets, a barren wasteland. Basically, its surface is the equivalent of a frozen desert. There doesn't appear, according to the records, to be any surface water. And the climate here, this planet being on the edge of the system, is perpetually frozen at negative 50 degrees Celsius or worse throughout the year. And in the evenings, the kind of quirk of this planet is that the temperature drastically changes between night and day, dropping to as low as negative 200 degrees Celsius in the winter. So being outside for any length of time at night is a death sentence. And even with special equipment, it is difficult unless you have stuff that is specifically built for that type of environment.
Flamethrowers.
And the cities here, the hive cities, as all hive cities are huge and massive and house millions or billions of Imperial citizens. The thing here, though, is that each of these hive cities also has a large chunk of them that are manufactorums. And it is here that the refined materials that are mined on the planet of Moriarch are delivered. And then those materials are then crafted in the manufactorums to create arms, armor, and equipment, much of which goes to arming the Astra Militarum, in particular the Corbin Lava Rats, who are the Imperial Guard regiment that are stationed in this system. Their home planet isn't here. They're from another system, but they happen to be the ones that have the biggest presence here. The only downfall is that Dunavern's manufactorums are not designed or really capable of producing vehicles or aircraft. It is mostly just, weapons, armor, and equipment like backpacks, voxcasters, rebreathers, canteens for your water, things like that. So all the stuff that an infantryman would need. So when you get to these hive cities, you guys can see this when you go through the ship's systems, you'll have the hive city itself, and then a part of that is just, massive, huge factory upon factory. And it's all connected, so, there'll be a massive hab block where all the workers and citizens live, and then that's attached to a huge manufactorum, so they don't have to travel to the other side of the planet just to get somewhere. But of course, these hive cities are massive, so there's endless numbers of hab blocks and manufactorums. And obviously, was with all hives, the higher up you get, it's nicer and it's less crowded and less polluted. And there are less factories. All the factories are like on the ground level and below. So, and of course, as with any hive world, there's the Underhive, where all the terrible, nasty gangers hang out, and probably rife with corruption and black market and mutation and all that good stuff. So, that is what you're looking at. How do you guys want to proceed? What do you want to do?
So we're orcs, but like if we make our way to the Underhive, it would be okay, right?
Well, you don't know for sure, but you guys are able to, read through the ship logs and stuff to learn about what an Underhive is. You also have people like Vashir who could explain some of those things, or there's bound to be someone else similar to Gorman who would be able to tell you guys some of that information. But to make a long story short, if you get down in the Underhive, you aren't going to necessarily have to worry about Imperial authority. There might be enforcers, depending where you go, because the enforcers are always trying to deal with the gangs and keep them in check. But it seems like your biggest concern would be hive gangers and mutants that are just constantly fighting each other, trying to eke out some sort of existence in those terrible conditions.
I feel like Scorcher needs to find a new human and be like, "You're my Gorman now.
Right, just change his name.
You're my new Gorman."
Yeah, I'll just replace the word Humi for Gorman.
You guys would also be able to tell, the higher up the hive you are, the more likely you are to deal with a real serious threat of security or defenses. But if you're lower in the hive, ground level or something like that, like a third of the way to the bottom of the hive, there's probably less defenses. Finding an entrance might be difficult, but it's also like one of those things where you might just be able to tear your way through and then get into the endless tunnels and things like that down there. So,
in theory, we still have one Thunderhawk?
Yeah,
Left?
probably.
We have our
Yeah.
class
If we
commander still, also.
If we took our Thunderhawk, though, we're less likely to get questioned. Because who's going to question the Thunderhawk? Because they're typically only Space Marines, right?
Correct.
We could use that to go planetside and go into straight to the Undercity, the Underhive.
Yeah, it depends. Keep in mind you've got a bunch of Valkyries and stuff too. So
The Thunderhawk would really draw attention.
Mm.
And then when they see so someone would probably see a bunch of orcs rolling out.
But if we paint all our armor blue, then they won't be able to tell that it's not a Space Marine.
Fair. I can see that.
We'll wear the helmets they left behind.
Just on the very top, like a weird fez.
Yeah.
we have a bunch
Just-
of kids trick or treating with these big helmets, and then just orc clothes below the
Yeah,
helmet.
You cut the front off, and then you have a tiny string around the back of your head.
Oh, that's a good way to do it.
No Thunderhawks, but maybe Valkyries. Something that doesn't look outwardly.
Yeah, right.
Outwardly
Yeah, it's also
unnormal.
are you guys taking multiple drop ships or just one? Is this going to be more of a covert operation, or just like back on Telesaurus Bliss, where it was just an endless fight from start to
Yeah.
finish?
Are we
still
going
have
in
some,
loud?
Well, we want to recruit, right? Initially.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think we
so.
want to try to not do that if possible. Do we still have that?
So
There
polite.
was a shipment of red ore or gemstones or whatever it was. Is that still kicking around in the inventory somewhere?
I'm assuming so. You guys never did anything with it.
Is that something that we could
Yeah, that was the black ceramite that you guys had stolen a shipment of, and it was finished, so it had been polished to the red sheen. So yeah, I mean that stuff looks really well. It's really expensive and worth a lot, so that could be useful. You still have that.
And we still have the crude on the ship, right? Or one in the fleet.
Yeah, Karis, I believe, was the Shaper's name. He is
Let's
still
see.
alive in his
We can-
group of crew.
Yeah, we can see if he can help us recruit some solid crew. I mean, he's a mercenary, so he knows how to talk to humans who want to pay or buy services, right?
Good idea.
Give me a persuasion test. Somebody who wants to try to convince him to do that. See if he's willing to play ball.
Pass.
Pass.
Torcha, are you good at persuasion?
I have some dice. What is the? Is it 3? DN?
It's opposed.
Oh shit. Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Nice.
I'll re-roll that. Call Wrath. All right,
Oh,
Nice.
there we go, a critical.
Nice.
and a shift.
Do you want to throw in the 1 glory we just earned on that?
I mean, up to you boys.
You've got
Yeah.
2,
I mean,
3. You got 5.
Never works
successes.
anyway, so might as well
Yeah.
use them.
All right.
All right, let's see that too.
6.
Just to
Uh,
mock me.
What are you using your shift for?
It's opposed, right? Do you want to
Right.
use the shift?
So you don't want to lose that dice, right?
No, so you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to use it right for opposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's fair.
Okay.
All right. Well, he thinks about it for a moment, and when you kind of explain the plan, he slowly gives you a nod, says, all right, think I can help with that. Buddy,
Oh, excellent.
Right, let's collect a crew that'll fit in a Valkyrie.
Oh, you
Okay,
can,
we'll assume it's the 4 of you and Karis. Do you take anybody else with?
Does Karis have anybody he wants to bring with, like another crew representative?
He'll probably take a handful of crude. I mean, if you guys are going together as a group, he'll probably have 3 or 4, so he has his own little squad.
Mm-hmm.
So
Before we go planetside, can I take a quick once over of the benevolence and maybe aid the tech repair test of the crew with my known knowledge? Just supplement that a little bit.
well, they don't take the test until a week has passed.
Okay, so
No,
we're
no,
gonna go down.
personally.
This will be a little day trip. We're not.
Exactly. And if you're gone for 1 or 2 days out of the 7, I would still let you make the roll because we'd assume that you would be directing most of that. So, all right. Yes.
Let's go then.
Before we go planetside, would Scorcher have time to maybe restock
Yeah. What do you need?
flame for the burn?
Flame ammo?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the rarity of that? Oh wait, is it actually? It's here on the GM sheet. It's
Ooh.
common. It's value 2, so it's just DN2.
DN2 for influence.
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
Remember,
would this
you can use strength?
actually my influence is better?
Oh wow.
Yeah, we got a pretty sizable influence now.
Really quick, will this take the place of my ship influence test then?
If you guys do the test today, yes. So you get 1 requisition test per session.
Okay. We're melee today, boys. I'll pass on that because I'll save the influence for the ship.
Okay.
But thank you.
Yep.
for the info.
All right. So you load into one of the. You probably have to take the Valkyrie because the Vendetta isn't a transport. So you hop in one of your looted Valkyries, which has not been totally defiled by the orcs yet. It still kind of passes for an Imperial one, or a non-looted one, I should say. Along with Karis and his squad of 5 Kroot. And you guys head down to the planet. So when you break atmosphere and actually get down there, you see a planet that is bluish and white in color with all the snow drifts and ice. Very dark this far out from the system star as well. And, even from this distance, you can probably see at least one or two of the hive cities. They are like the size of small continents. They take up a massive, just unbelievable amount of space. But you can tell there's a good distance between each one of them, too. Probably several days' journey if you were in some sort of land vehicle. So, from what you've read, you're guessing that communication between the hives, at least in the form of visiting, is probably very limited, if not completely non-existent. So, you make your way towards one of these hives, this gargantuan series of buildings that have just been built one on top of the other for probably centuries, resulting in a continent-sized city that is visible from space. And as with all hives, as they run out of space horizontally to build, just like in an actual city, they start to build vertically. And the higher up you are, the less crowded it is, and the nicer it gets, and probably the richer you are. So, and eventually as you get towards the top of the hive, the levels are less and less wide. They get more narrow, forming like a cone, or an upside down cone, or spires and towers and things like that. So, where exactly do you head? I guess we can move this guy out of the way just so we can kind of see what the Hive City sort of looks like.
The only place you collect party to the tavern.
Oh, I'm sure you'll find plenty of bars in the Underhive.
So I look for the sketchiest, shittiest looking landing area we can find.
Okay, well, there's a lot of choices for that, so you don't have to look very hard. You find a place that looks particularly... I'll tell you what, give me a... which one is it? Awareness. And we'll see what you find.
Okay. 4 successes.
Okay. Yeah, you find what to you looks like it might be a landing pad or just a flat open area that you think you can set the ship down on. So you find a suitable spot, kind of like that little spot right there on the map. Looks like a landing pad to me.
So I'll pat the pilot. Oi, new Gorman, over there.
I assumed your mech was piloting.
Oh,
unless you have a human piloting.
I don't know. What did we do, guys? Human or is it Steel Ripper?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd love to give it a shot.
Okay. Well, you don't have to make a test for this. This is pretty standard. So, and as you're flying around, you do see, as you get closer to the hive, there is a decent amount of air traffic going from place to place. I mean, again, this is like a continent-sized city, so there's a good amount of people milling about and doing stuff. So, nobody hails you, no messages come in, no one checks to give you flight clearance or anything of that nature. It's just like you're another face in the crowd. And yeah, you bring the ship down, and with a heavy clang, it lands on this open area. You probably, it probably takes a little while, at least an hour or two, to fly down from your ship and then find a spot. And, very similar to in Dark Tide, where it's such a huge structure that you can actually fly the ship around in some of these places, weaving between the spires and rooftops of various smaller buildings, only to look up and see just more man-made structure.
Nice.
You guys sat down on a precarious, rusty, dilapidated-looking excuse of a landing pad, and when the back of the Valkyrie opens up, you just see it's like being inside of a starship, but it's far less cramped. There are massive areas that are just open. It's like being in a city, but rather than seeing the sky, there's a roof like 3 miles above your head, and it has every look of the industrial imperium that you've started to come to know. Things are falling apart. They're old. They're ancient. Water leaking everywhere. It's rather cold. It's not unbearable, but it's certainly not comfortable. You guys can see your breath as you guys step out onto the platform. There's wind howling through these vast open chambers, and you can just see all about, in the distance, lights flickering from damage or just ages and ages of barely being cared for. And you can, in the distance, everywhere you look, you can see somebody scurrying about or milling about. There's definitely plenty of people down here, but no one even seems to, at least at the start, there's no one in your immediate vicinity. Nobody seems to pay you any heed.
Do we want to leave someone here to protect the sheeps?
Yeah, we'll assume you have at least a co-pilot who can stay with the ship.
All right, looks for me. So let's go find us some crew, right?
All right. What exactly do you guys want to do? How are you going to go about this?
That's a good question. Bar?
Yeah,
No,
I'd say find the I don't know. Find where the biggest conglomeration of humies is.
Can't find like a temp agency to go hire some people.
Are you guys splitting up from the crew? Are they going to go search somewhere else?
I think to start with, maybe stay together so it doesn't.
I'm sort of more of a ragtag band of misfits rather than like a invading workforce or whatever.
All of you, please give me an insight test.
Wash it.
Oh, man, I keep forgetting to level up insight. I'm gonna do that. After this session, I'm getting some
almost the
points.
critical. Wow. Yeah, complication though. Go ahead and roll that, please, Kyle.
Son of beach. Oh.
Lost item. Okay, so Steel Rippa, you do pass though with 3. The rest of you have not hung around Karis much, and you haven't hung around Kroot much either, so you're not really familiar with their body language and their emotional state and things like that. But Steel Rippa, you can tell that when Loktar suggests that you guys stay together, you can see that Karis does not look happy about that. Looks like he'd rather go off with his boys and do their own thing. But he doesn't say anything, but you can tell he's just kind of like,
Well, maybe we could take our different approaches and see if Brooks and his lads could take a more diplomatic sort of route, and maybe we'll roast a bar.
All right, we can figure out our own path. Meet back here in a few hours. How much time do you need?
He nods to that when you say meet back in a few hours. He doesn't really say anything, and he cocks his head to one side, kind of jerks it to one side for his guys to start moving out. And as he walks past you, Steel Ripper, you see he stops and he looks at you and he gives you a nod of acknowledgement or respect. It's kind of a thank you, or appreciate you being on his side, and they kind of slip off into the darkness, and you notice they are fairly quiet for such big creatures. I mean, Kroot aren't like hulking. They're kind of lanky, but they're tall, and they are surprisingly nimble on their feet, as they scamper off down the hallway.
All right, where to, boys? Just walk into town and...
Well, we're looking for a space crew, right? Maybe there's a space port or something we can go to and see if there's anyone who's looking for work.
Lots of planes in the air. Let's see if we can follow them.
Right?
See where they're landing.
Probably ask a person or something at like a bar. Or just use our eyes.
All right. Whoever's going to lead the group, give me a survival test.
Dun dun dun.
All right, I can handle that.
Yeah, there we go, leader.
Mostly.
A success is a success.
4 successes. That's fine. So it's twisting and turning. You really have no idea where you're going. For the most part, Loktar, you're just trying to keep track of which way you've gone, so you can have a rough idea how to get back where you came. But you can still have Vox communications with your ship too, the drop ship, so you're not like in danger necessarily of being lost forever. And yeah, you go through hallways that are barely lit with functioning lights, some that are absolutely freezing cold to the point where you can see frost forming on the walls and the pipes. Other places where pipes and machinery hang haphazardly overhead or jut through the floor, making the ground in the area rather treacherous. Occasionally steam spews through a burst pipe or something that's damaged. Electrical wiring that sparks, hasn't been touched in years. There's plating hanging off the walls, or floor grates that have been removed or are so rusted out that when you walk on them, they start to break and fall apart. And everywhere you go, this whole place just groans with just so much pressure and just being so old, like an old mansion. And on top of that, there's the sounds of all the machinery and, you know, the echo of voices and shouting and conversations and yelling all throughout the hallways. Some places you have to crouch down, you know, and really like stoop to get through. It's very clear nothing was made with any semblance of uniformity or anything like that. You know, one minute you're walking down a hallway that looks like you are in a ship. The next minute it feels like you're in an alley, and the next minute it feels like you're in a sewer drain. It's just such a mishmash of everything. You do occasionally see things like rats and other critters scurrying through the darkness. You do come through some areas that look like they're living abodes for those that are very destitute and have really nothing to their name. You know, hovels and little shacks and things like that. You know, very much like you'd see like in a third world country where they've just thrown together whatever they can find to make like a little home or living abode. And you do occasionally actually see people down here as well. Most of them avoid you, kind of skulking in the shadows or withdrawing when you guys get near. Just about everybody that you see down here is covered head to toe in clothing, wrapped in bundles to try to keep themselves warm, dirty rags and decrepit jackets and molting clothing that has seen better days. Scarves wrapped around their faces and heads. In some cases, almost like a turban, you know, just to keep the cold weather out, or perhaps to hide disfigurements. You're pretty sure you see people that have mutations here and there, maybe an extra limb, or you know, pockmarked face and just damage from radiation and, you know, skin conditions and things like that. But for the most part, nobody really bothers you guys. You do get some people that look at you a little bit longer than you're comfortable with, whether they're praising you as their next meal or a easy mark, or perhaps thinking twice when they see your size about messing with you. But there's definitely a sinister criminal element you feel all around you as well. After going through these tunnels for what feels like at least an hour or so, eventually you come to an area that actually appears to be somewhat actually properly lit. It's still rather dilapidated, but you can see the glow of some sort of machinery up ahead, and you can actually hear some voices in the distance. And as you get further down this hallway, you can hear what sounds like the sound of music or something as well. And eventually, make sure I've got a new map here we're going to move over to. So you're making your way down this hall, and eventually, as you turn a corner, this glow appears to be from some sort of refurbished or looted plasma generator on your right-hand side. You see the typical blue coils of a plasma device. Fairly big, about the size of like half a garage, maybe like the size of a car, give or take. And there's basically this little shitty makeshift fence around it that's like just past your knees. The floor underneath you is like deck plating. Up ahead, you can see like the shanty shingles of like roofs and awnings. And there's a building of some sort ahead of you that almost looks like a fortress or a small castle made out of metal. You see a rather large human standing guarding the door, and then you can see that the path continues around the generator to your right, and it goes further into this, what looks like a settlement of some sort or something like that. The human that you see is far larger than any you guys have ever laid eyes on. It's not an ogrin. You can tell it is a human, but it is a big, jacked human. Huge, massive muscles, probably on some sort of growth stims, or otherwise this is just a dude who works out 24/7. They've got patchwork armor. In this case, you see that this guy's armor plates that he has have been painted or daubed a crude red color, and a lot is adorned with spikes and very much almost like a punk rock kind of look mixed in. He's got a dirty pair of what looks like maybe black jeans or like old leather jeans, and then he's got some big old massive metal boots on with some knee guards. He's got a fairly impressive belt that almost would kind of look like an ogre gut plate to some regards. It's just this huge belt buckle that's like 10 times the size of a regular belt buckle. It looks like it's like a piece of armor. And then patchwork piece covering one arm, patchwork piece covering like the top of one hand, patchwork piece on one shoulder. He's got a bunch of tattoos on his forearms, which for the most part his arms are exposed. And then he's got some sort of piece of armor covering his chest. And, he's got some like bandoliers of ammunition on part of him. You can see a big knife in his belt. And he's got some chains hanging from the belt as well that end in like little hooks and barbs. And he's got a big necklace with it looks like some sort of gear as the medallion, like an actual like mechanical gear cog as the medallion of the necklace. And this particular guy is clean shaven. He doesn't have any facial hair. He does have a whole bunch of piercings in his ear though, his right ear. He's got like the loop piercings that go like all around the outside of the ear. There's like, you count probably 7 or 8 of them. And then his head is clean shaven, save for a decent sized mohawk. It's not like 3 or 4 feet tall. It's probably like a good like 6 to 12 inches tall. And it's been dyed some sort of like moldy green color. And you can see he's got what looks like a rifle or a shotgun in his hands as he's standing there guarding the door. And he sees you guys approaching. He clearly sees you. He doesn't say anything. You're still a distance away, but you definitely have caught his attention.
Oh damn, that's some sick art.
Boy, I like this guy's style.
Yeah, Scorcha points and goes, "New Gorman."
Oh no.
And I mean, this guy is almost the size of an orc with how big he is.
Oh.
Especially because he's not hunched over like you guys are, so he's probably taller than you or about your height. But like physically, yeah, he's like twice the size of a regular human.
Wow.
God damn.
Yeah, we need.
But he's
a big boy.
he's nowhere near as big as an ogre. Okay, you can move your tokens.
We're gonna approach him.
So as you get near him, you can see there's a path that continues further past this building. You can see the edge of the building is right around here. That's the corner of it. Looks like there might be an alley or another path around the back. And then over here on the right, there you can see that there's a door underneath some of those awnings right there. This right here appears to be another building of some sort. Looks like maybe the plasma generator is powering that building, or that building's providing power to it. And you can see all sorts of debris like barrels and crates and shipping containers, most of it metal and industrial. There's debris all over, like broken masonry and concrete with rebar pieces sticking out, and just like sheets of metal haphazardly thrown everywhere. This guy, he's clearly like got his gun at the ready. He's not pointing it at you, but he's got it in both hands as you guys approach him. You can hear him kind of like almost growl under his breath as you get near.
Hey, we's looking for a crew for our ships. Where can we find one?
Looking for a crew, huh? He looks
Yeah,
you
no
up and down a
planet.
bit and he goes, "And just what in the throne are you supposed to be?
Me, I ain't never seen a
I ain't
human
never
as big
seen
as
one
you.
as green as you.
What is you?
You fall into a tox vat or something?"
We's the orcs. We's the wah.
He kind of cocks his head, like clearly he's never heard that term before. And he kind of appraises you for a moment. And then he says, "You're in Reaver territory right now, buddy. What kind of crew are you looking for? What's your angle?"
He's looking for a big scrap. We don't want a crew that can't hold their own.
You can see
in a
at
fight.
first he seems confused when you use the word scrap, but then when you say fight, he seems to comprehend what you're saying. And he looks the four of you up and down a little bit more. Give me I would say either intimidation or persuasion here.
Ooh. Damn.
Okay, this is opposed. Do you want to burn anything here? You happy you got 4 right now?
We have 4. It's early to use them. I'm gonna
That's
wait.
a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't seem impressed or really too threatened by you, and he says, "Well, I think you came to the wrong place for a crew. Maybe you ought to just keep moving along."
He's too scared for a fight. He's too scared of a fight. Just point me where I was.
Chris, Scorcha would put his hand on Loktar's shoulder and kind of push himself forward and go, "Oi, this is the war boss you're talking to. And we just got us 4 new ships. So we knows a thing or two about fighting. So if you don't want to scrap, then piss off."
Give me an intimidation check, Scorcha. He definitely, you can see his head kind of perks when you mention ships.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Wow. 4 5s. Interesting. He says, all right. No need to get unpleasant. He says, at least one of you looks like you got a spine. He says, come on in. Maybe the boss, Axton, maybe he'll want to have a chat with you. And he steps aside, and there's like a big, it looks like a blast door almost, but you can see that it's just, it's something you can just slide to the side. And now that you're here by the door, you can definitely hear there's music coming from inside this structure. He says, you cause any trouble, though? And he just, taps the end of his gun. Do you guys see the door? You can open it.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I should probably get a little bit of... Do I have any different music here? Hold on a second. This one. I don't have any, cyberpunk. I feel like that's what we should have right now. So... when you open the door, you slide it to the side, you're greeted by some very loud, heavy, almost like grunge type music. And you find yourselves basically inside of a bar. There's a couple tables that have been made out of a variety of metal chunks and pieces, and stools of all shapes and sizes. Some are just like a box or a metal crate someone's pulled up to a table. In one case, it's like a stack of tires and, an upside down bucket or like an old oil barrel that's empty. And when you get in here, you see there's a couple more guys that clearly are part of the same crew as this guy. They're all these big hulking humans, massive biceps and chests and forearms. All of them have mohawks to some degree, dyed in various colors. All of them have piercings and tattoos, and most of them seem to have very big weapons like this guy does. Very heavy, robust-looking shotguns, and maybe like a big knife or like an axe or something like that. You see most of them basically have what looks like chain axes, like strapped to their backs or sitting alongside one of the bar, one of the tables. And you can see there's a couple other doors that lead to various parts of this building. And you can see behind the bar, there is another guy who looks really a little bit bigger than everyone else. And he definitely has more armor on than the rest of these guys. He's got a very, very impressive mohawk that basically marks him out as being in charge here. And you don't see any weapons on him other than you see there's a massive holster on his hip for like a pistol. But other than that, you don't see anything on him. And when you walk in, the music, it's like one of those things where the music almost like screeches to a halt for a moment. And everybody kind of looks, and there's a bit of confusion on you guys, on their faces. And then eventually the door kind of slides shut back behind you. Doesn't lock or anything, but he shuts the door. And once the door shuts, most of these guys just go back to drinking. Some of them are looking at you. It looks like more out of curiosity than anything. It's very clear to you guys they've probably never seen creatures like you. And you can see the big guy behind the bar, he kind of leans forward a bit. He's got both of his fists, like he's leaning on his knuckles on top of the bar, and he leans forward. Looks like he just got finished pouring a drink for the other guy at the bar. And you can see he makes some sort of comment, and the guy turns around in his stool and looks over his shoulder at you. And the big guy kind of leans forward with a grin. And he says something. You're not sure if he's saying it to you or to the guy next to him, which you can't make out what he says over the sound of the music.
Well, I would assume that he's the boss, considering he's probably the biggest one. He was the biggest one here with the most armor. So I would just kind of
Okay.
start walking through the bar and see if anybody.
No,
gets in my way or
you get a
stops
couple
me.
strange looks from these guys, but they don't seem to really give you any shit. And then you get up to the bar and you can see a wicked grin on this guy's face as you get there.
He's here to see the boss.
Cracks his neck a
That
bit.
you?
You're looking at him. He says, and what do we have here?
The orcs is. He's the Madboyz.
You see, he looks like he's thinking for a moment, see if he's ever recalled or heard that name. And he says, Madboyz. Yeah, I never heard of no Madboyz. You must be from another part of the hive. What are you doing in my territory?
We ain't from the planet. We've got a couple ships in orbit, and we need a crew.
The guy
Couple
next to you at
crews.
the bar, he's like taking a drink, and when you say that you're from out off the planet, he like almost spits his drink up, like, what the fuck are you guys doing down here? And the big guy, the boss, Axton, he kind of like smacks the guy upside the head, and he throws a rag at him, and he's like, clean that shit up. And then he looks back to you and like kind of motions for you to continue.
We've acquired a few new ships, and we need a crew that can handle us crap. We do a lot of fighting. We don't need no weaklings.
And what exactly do you fight on a ship?
Humies, Xenos, or what I call them, Xenos? Aliens.
That's what the humans call them. I don't know if you guys would call them that. Probably too fancy of a word for an orc.
Yeah, that seemed odd coming from an orc. Humies. Recently, Space Marines.
The guy spit up his drink. He's like, you killed a space marine? Bullshit.
It's got the helmets to prove it.
Couple of them, actually.
You throw the helmet down on the table, and the guy looks, and he looks a bit shocked. Even Axton looks like he's got a look of surprise on his face. And he picks it up and takes a look at it. He says, I heard about the Emperor's Angels, never seen one. And he kind of looks you over some more, and eventually he pours a drink for you, and he slides it to you. Didn't catch your name.
It's Loktar as the war boss here. I take the drink.
All right. Give me a toughness test.
Ah, son of a bitch.
Oh, success is success.
Got 4 successes. Roll the complication, please. Warp interference. All right, give me the resolve. Is it resolve, right? Yeah.
Resolve, resilience, resolve.
DN3.
No. Conviction? Resolve?
I believe it's resolve.
Fear or terror?
It's not fear, it's for corruption.
When I click resolve, it asks me fear or terror.
Just select fear, that's fine. And then if you get a fear token, just take it off for the fear condition. Okay. So yeah, get rid of the fear, and instead you get a corruption point. So you did get a critical though, so you got a point. You should get a point of glory. I don't know why it's not giving you one. Let me do that. Okay. So you drink this, and it's like drinking motor oil. It is fucking disgusting. But you do down it. You don't spit it up or anything, but it does make you grimace and cough. So it's clear you've never had anything like this, but you do manage to stomach it, and you don't spit it up, and you don't wimp out or anything. And for a brief moment, when this stuff touches your lips, it's just like you see into another dimension, and you hear like all the screams of your boys from the past dying in droves, and there's weird colors and shapes and faces in front of you, and just like that, it's over. And when you come to, you're a little shaken as the warp has kind of washed over you. But there's a like a big cheer and a laugh from most of these guys here, like kind of like poking fun at you, but also kind of celebratory, like, oh, like he actually did it, you know. But he's not as tough as us because he's kind of spitting it up a bit. But so he gives like a big hearty, like kind of bear-like laugh, and he's like, ah, that's the spirit. And he's like, you got some big green balls to come in here and talk to us like that. You know, we haven't met anybody quite like that down here in a while. It's kind of refreshing, actually. And you see some of the other guys like slam their drinks down, like, you know, ooh, 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 like they're really getting into it. What's everybody else doing as the two of them are talking?
Just kind of looking around, waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, Scorch is just on like Loktar's side.
Okay. So Peppa, you and Steel Rip are over by the door, and once he takes the drink and all these guys kind of cheer and holler, you see one of them, he slides one of the stools over to you with his foot. Like he kicks it with the bottom of his foot, and it slides across the floor. It's a pretty heavy object, so it doesn't go very far, but it's very clear that he like slides it for you to take a seat.
Can I fit on that with my mega armor?
Oh, you're in your mega armor. Oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
He probably does it to Steel Ripper then.
Okay.
Here. Yeah, I'll take a seat.
I mean, I'll sit, but it ain't surviving.
No, you aren't fitting.
You're not getting back up.
Yeah, you probably barely fit through the door, to be honest. I forgot
Yeah.
you were in mega armor. Yeah, we'll say you fit through the door, but just barely.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're standing, buddy. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, so he slides you a seat. Do you take a seat, Rippa?
Yeah, absolutely. Catch
Okay.
a whiff of what the boss handed to Loktar and be like, "Can I get one of those?"
He slides like the cup that he's been drinking from over to you. He's got a big grin on his face as he watches you. He's eagerly watching or waiting to see if you drink it.
No, I'll drink it. So I'm in the back.
Toughness test, please.
Toughness. I have some of those.
Hey.
Damn, your toughness 6?
Yeah, baby.
I
Holy
maybe
fuck.
overcompensated after Ed Hackett died. Like, oh, never again.
That's amazing. Well, 7 successes. You have 2 shifts if you'd like to use them for anything.
I'll do glory for one, and I don't know. I'm gonna stunt on him. This is gonna be the most impressive Motorola drinking this guy's ever seen.
Yeah, it doesn't phase you at all like it did Loktar. You actually kind of like the taste. It reminds you of being back in the workshop, you know, working on some of the vehicles. And he just gives you a big slap on the shoulder. He's like, ah! And he like motions for another round, and you see that the mood instantly shifts to one that's a little more laid back, and a couple more drinks start coming your way. And
Oh yeah, we've made stuff like this of the spent oil from the bikes.
He's like, oh, you got a bike too?
Yeah, more than a few. We were running races for a while until these yahoos totaled a bunch. We're back up to quorum, I think, now. So we could have another rally in the near future.
Oh, that gets his attention, and the two of you quickly start swapping bike stories, and he's telling you about like modifications he's made on his, and stuff like that. And it becomes very clear to you as you're talking to these guys that they are very much like a violence first, violence solves everything kind of gang. And they clearly appreciate, toughness and displays of strength. And you get the feeling like the fact that you guys are big orcs and you just kind of came in here and you don't really seem to be scared or worried about anything, like they clearly have a respect for that no one in their life has ever even remotely displayed close to. And you realize if you were like anybody else, you tried to come to the door, you guys would probably already be like in a gunfight. And these guys, like, they feel, it seems like they just invite you in almost to some degree. So we're at our halfway point. Let us take our let's take our break as you guys start to party with the Iron Reavers gang here, and we'll be back momentarily.
Ooh, we're gonna have our own Goliath gang pretty soon.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Alright, boys, I'll BRB for some water.
Yeah, be right back, boys.
So, we return to this bar in the Underhive, where you guys have just met Axton, the leader of a Goliath gang called the Iron Reavers. And it seems things are going fairly well right now. So, at this point, he starts to ask you guys a couple questions. When you talk about having a ship, he mentions never being off-world, and, basically wants to get more of an idea of what you guys are up to, what your proposition is, so to speak.
Hey. Right now, as we's building our clan and collecting scrap, making fights. We's lives to fight. We's has a plan for our next target. Gonna collect some more gear. Keep moving. We never stay anywhere too long.
He says, and what's your next target?
We've got a moon near. Oh no, I'm looking for the map. Oh no, the map's not there.
Oh yeah, what happened to the map? Was it near Akrados?
Akrados?
Go to the Virgo system. Oh, is it? Wait a minute.
It's not
Yeah.
there.
What? Oh, that's weird. Hold on.
No,
Wait.
no.
There you go. I don't know how I got switched.
Yeah, Cobalt. Moon Cobalt is where the...
Yeah, but I don't think Cobalt.
What?
Because he probably doesn't know. He's never been off world.
Right, I mean, you could just tell him we're
Where's-
going to a Space Marine.
Where's- Do we want to tell him that
I
though?
don't need to get too much into detail. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna loot some gear from a abandoned asterisk armory of the Space Marine.
We've got our next target near Akrados.
He looks very confused when you say that. He's like, Acro what?
We're gonna put together the biggest crew, gonna get the biggest guns and the fastest ships. And wherever those are, that's our next target.
He kind of scratches his chin almost thoughtfully. A little uncharacteristic, you think, of this guy, but he seems to contemplate that. And he says, your ship big enough to hold all these guys? I got plenty more crew down here,
We've got 8 ships. We've got plenty of rooms.
He looks as if he's not sure if he believes you, if you're just trying to brag. But if you actually do have 8 ships, he wants to be impressed by that. But yeah, it just seems like you're guessing it's like something that's just beyond his capability to like envision or understand because he's never been off world.
You want a tour?
You see, like, all the guys look up like, that sounds fucking sweet. And he thinks about it for a moment. He says, all right, I'll take you up on your deal. He says, me and some of my boys will come on up, take a look around. I ain't never been on a ship before.
Oh, you'll enjoy it.
I ain't never been in a hive city before.
You've been on a flyer?
He's like, no, only them Eshin broads use those flyers. We take them down real good.
You'll have to see one of ours. Gotta get up to the ship somehow.
He nods and he says, all right. And he whistles and he starts, giving some instructions to the guy at the bar, clearly telling him like, hey, I'll be gone for a bit. Make sure, take care of shit while I'm down here. And he says, to the guys. This part he says loud so you can hear him. He says, go get Spunky. And the guy like gives like a big grin. He's like, you got it, boss. And eventually, you guys all convene outside the bar, back by the guy who was guarding the entrance. And eventually, the guy from behind the bar, he comes out. The door slides open, and you hear like this, like a cross between a growl and a hiss. And you see this guy has this massive chain link leash. It's attached to this big spiked collar, and this collar is around this creature. You guys have never seen anything like it before, but basically it looks like a huge ass alligator. The thing is probably a good from nose to tip of tail, like 8 to 10 feet long, and is as built as like one of you guys. This massive set of jaws with these huge teeth, and he's got, you notice as he's stomping and crawling forward, this thing's collar actually has a little, it looks like a name tag probably, you can't actually read it, but it's like a little dog bone that's been hammered out of some metal, and it's hanging from his collar like a name tag. And the other thing, this alligator actually has 4 sets of eyes. There's 2 on either side of the head. But otherwise, if we were looking at it, or if any of us were looking at it, it looks like a big ass fucking alligator. And he brings this thing out, and the boss goes, "This is Spunky. You mind if he comes along for the ride? He loves rides."
Of course not. You can come see our beasts.
Scorcha, under his breath, goes, I love him.
And so they follow you, maybe 6 or 7 of them, along with the thing's called a sump croc. And I assume you head back to the Valkyrie?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you wait for Karis to come back?
Yeah, we only have one.
Okay. So a couple hours go by between getting there, getting back, and waiting for Karis. You guys get back sooner than he does. And eventually, it's going to be fucking cramped in here, especially with these huge dudes. But it looks like they're all willing to cramp up in here together, like the 4 Ogrins in Darktide, just to see a chance to fucking go on a ship. And eventually, Karis and his crew return, and it's like they're not there 1 minute, and then the next minute it's like they're just there. None of you guys notice or hear them, and then they've just shown up. And he sees this filled dropship, and he just looks to you, Loktar, like, what the fuck is this?
We've got a crew. We's gonna show the boss what they're in for.
Seems like you've been busy.
Any luck on your end?
He nods, and he actually looks over to you, Steel Rippa, properly addressing you. He says, "There's quite a few groups down here vying for control. Plenty of unfortunates. I'm sure we could easily convince one way or another. Mostly gathered reconnaissance. Can tell you on the way up."
Excellent. We need all the people we can get.
And you guys load up, head back up to the Vindication and the rest of the fleet. And as you guys are pulling away from the Hive City, I mean, these guys are all trying to cram near like the little tiny, window visor on one of the doors, and barely one of them can fit. And like, you got three guys trying to smash their face up against the glass. And it is bizarre to watch just the wonder that these brutes have as you guys start to pull away from the Hive City, and they see it, and they're like overcome and stunned by just the size of it. And as you guys pull further and further away, and they can see other Hive Cities, like you can hear Axton go, "Oh, we've heard stories of other places, but never been outside the walls. It's too cold, too far. I wonder what those tin cans are like."
Too cushy for the orcs. We fights and we moves.
And then when you guys break atmosphere and really make it out into space, and you get this grand view of the planet, as shitty and dark and cold and miserable as it looks, you can just see in these guys' pea-sized brains, like, just their minds are blown at, like, that there's more than just the Underhive. And it would almost probably be touching if they weren't so huge and intimidating looking. And when they see your ships, all of their draws, including Axton's, drops. And they're like, "That's your ship?" And then they see the other ones, and they're like, "Holy fuck, you weren't kidding." And he was like, obviously they were thinking you had like a ship slightly bigger than this one. And then they see basically these floating cities, and they're stunned. And when you start showing them around, and especially when they see like more of the orcs, and then they see like that you've got humans and other species on the ship, many of them that have probably been forced to work on the ship or captured. They definitely appreciate like your might makes right mentality. And you start to realize that Axton, despite being this big massive brute, he's definitely smarter than he looks. He asks some clever questions. He's constantly trying to learn your lingo. You notice this really quickly. When you say a term he's not familiar with, he almost instantly asks what that is, or he takes a guess. Like when you say scrap, or umi, or whatever term it may be, and he's catching on really fast. And he says, "Yeah, you could conquer a whole planet with this fleet."
It might be the
More
plan.
than a planet as we's hoping.
Oh, sorry, what's that, Eric?
More than a planet we's hope.
Says, "Oh, the rest of the boys are gonna love this." He says, "But you're gonna need more than the Iron Reavers to fill this thing up. You're gonna need the whole Underhive."
We still has some humies on board. But we's here looking for more. You keep your boys in line. We could use you.
He's nodding at all of this. It looks like he's half listening, half like looking around at every next wonder you show him. You know, the fucking warp drive, or the just the gun batteries, or like one of the torpedoes.
Space Marine corpses.
Oh yeah, or the racetrack, of course. Steel Ripa's new buddy, he fucking loves that, and like it's like watching two old buddies who haven't seen each other like from high school for like 10 years, and it's like a day hasn't even passed, and all of a sudden like their gangers and your speed freaks are like chilling, like talking about like the torque on the engines and the grip of the tires, and like just like checking out the guns that you guys have strapped on, and like just it's like watching two bros like come back together. And it's bizarrely interesting as they start to just instantly acclimate to what you guys have going on here. And probably a few motorcycle races later, it seems you've convinced Axton. But he, again, he's like, how do you plan? Basically asks you, like, you're gonna need a shit ton of crew for this. Like, once again, he's asking a lot of questions, finding out like, oh, like you need like 65,000 people to man this, and he's like, 1, 2 lots. Like, yeah, that's way more than in my gang. So, like, what's the plan? You could see the wheels in his head slowly starting to turn.
Plans to planet, see who we can get on board. Keeps growing.
He says,
He's not gonna fill the ship just here.
He's like, how big is your gang exactly?
We sit in around. Is that my ship, the Vindication?
I believe so.
Notes.
Yeah.
The total tribe's somewhere in the tens of thousands.
11,000. Right? We've got about 11,000 boys on these ships.
Yeah, he quickly pieces together that there is significantly more orcs. His gang is, maybe like 50 to 100 dudes, if that. I mean, it's a big gang, but it's nothing like what you guys have here. You guys have a fucking army. And he's like, you should just take over the whole Underhive. You take your pick of anyone you want down there. You got other gangers, you got stolen tech, you got anything. You could take on the enforcers. You could take over the whole hive.
Oh, that doesn't sound like a bad idea, actually.
Grey Scorcher's ears would
We
have
need to
perked
let
up.
the boys out for a fight.
Sorry, Kyle?
Oh, Grey Scorcher's ears would have perked up when he said enforcers.
He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, and so he eventually, like, again, he seems more clever than he looks, and he starts to basically explain like the hierarchy of the Underhive and what it's like, living there, and kind of explaining everything. He tells you like the enforcers, and what they are, and they sound very similar to the enforcers that Casadora had on the Vindication. He basically explains, like, they're the police force and they work for the Lord of the Hive. And he explains how, most people work in the manufactorums that are the regular citizens, and, there's huge black market in the Underhive where they deal in all sorts of stolen illicit goods, drugs, stolen weapons, other illegal shit. And mutants, weird animals like the sump croc, parts, scrap, whatever it is. And yeah, he tells you all sorts of stories, and he tells you about some of the gangs in his area where they're always fighting over a couple different levels, and other gangs he's heard of. And generally speaking, the higher up the hive you are, the nicer it is, or the better off or more important or stronger you are, stuff like that. And you can see like just all these like thoughts of conquest and taking over and just really like expanding really seems to get him like kind of bought into your whole your whole goal here.
We've got some time to kill while they fix our ship. We can absolutely start a fight here. Collect some gear.
He's like, look, you got the guys, we got the know-all. You know, we know every inch of that area. We know how it works. He's like, we could take over that whole place. Get all the crew you need.
I likes the way you thinks.
And
You tell us where to hit, and we'll send the boys into fight.
and he he looks at some of his guys. He's like, "What do you say, boys?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, boss, that sounds awesome. Like, let's fucking do it." So yeah, it seems like Axton is like ready to act like as your fucking like Underhive confidant, informant, and is ready to like help you guys make a move and really fill your ships with the shit you need to get back on track here.
All right, I guess we're going to war, boys.
So, while you guys are up there, he would you eventually probably have you bring him back so you can start getting his gang ready, or he'll send some of the other guys back and he'll stay up here on the ship, and you guys eventually move up to the bridge and your war room with the big holo table and everything, which Mulgrim at this point has fixed and orcified, but it's working again. And he starts to draw you very crude maps of just various sections of the Underhive and territories that other gangs hold and what these gangs are known for and things like that. He tells you where he knows of enforcer outposts and, lifts to get up to different levels or stairwells that still work, things like that. So, his knowledge only goes so far. He doesn't know the hive top to bottom. It's just way too vast. It's like knowing the entire country back to back, but he knows a good portion where it's like he would probably know like a large neighborhood or a small city worth of territory fairly well. And he points out like places you can land some ships, where you can fit lots of orcs, and he gives you suggestions for the types of things he think would be useful versus different gangs. He kind of tells you some of their strengths and weaknesses. You guys can coordinate efficiently and try to plan. And yeah, he's like all in. And so obviously we're not gonna like go floor to floor through the hive, but I think we'll do more of a general approach like we did when you guys were attacking the Death World planet with the tribal humans. So, we'll assume between all your dropships and everything, you can get plenty of boys down there to fight. And from everything he's told you, it doesn't sound like there's really any sort of military presence. If there is, he's not aware of it. The only like real law enforcement seems to be the enforcers, and higher up the hive there might be what the fuck are they called? Is it Arbites? I think is how it's pronounced.
The Arbites?
I think it's actually Arbites.
Yeah,
I think that's how they remember they had that video a few weeks ago on Games Workshop where they
on how to pronounce
and that was one that I remember. I was like, oh, and they were. I think it's actually Arbites or Arbites. It's not Arbites, so, but it is Abaddon. So
Not Abaddon?
no,
So depressing.
yeah, and it's Rabute Gilliman. How dumb.
Yeah.
Arbites, we have the meats.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we need to drag this out tremendously long. So, I guess the question is here, what is going to be your overall goal here as far as what you want to accomplish?
I think our biggest accomplishment is just looking for crew.
Okay. Manpower.
I think, yeah, manpower. I mean, a little bit scrap, maybe, depending on, how Mulgrim's doing.
but we really need to get the ships up and running.
Okay. Well, the best place he says for scrap would be hitting one of the manufactorums, but he explains those places are fairly heavily defended by what you as he explains it, you understand are the Adeptus Mechanicus. And it seems like his place is far enough away where that's not something they've really done. There's no manufactorums close by, so anything they get from manufactorum is probably something they got through the Underhive, or I'm sorry, through the black market, or people trading and smuggling and things like that. But manpower, he's basically like, yeah, let's just fucking conquer every gang nearby and then just start like grabbing everybody we can. Like, let's just empty this place out. And I mean, even though you only got 11,000 orcs versus like several million or billion people, there doesn't seem to be a big force that could probably stand up to you guys all at once. So, let's just do this. We'll have you each lead a part of this attack, and we'll have you guys do a pose test here to see how well you pull this off. And we'll do a pose test. If you succeed, then let me check something here on your ship stats. All right, so here's how we're gonna do it. We'll have you each make an opposed test to represent that you guys are leading a portion of the attack on the Hive and trying to conquer local gangs and conscript various destitute and otherwise down on their luck people or mutants that live down here. The more successes you have, for every success you have beyond the first, if you win, every success will give you another 10 crew population for a ship. And then these will be just regular crews. They'll be level 6, because the gangers will make for decent crew, but you're also going to have some, people in there that are just being forced to do menial shit. So we'll say they'll be competent. They'll be level 6 that you'll acquire. And yeah, let's do some rolls here. So how about each of you describe how you want to attack whatever gang you end up fighting. Maybe explain some of the tactics you guys use or some of the strategies you come up with. And yeah, so if you're not familiar with Necromunda, the gangs here are very similar to that. You've got the Escher gang, which is the all females that are quick on their feet, very fast, nimble fighters. They have a lot of toxic weaponry, and they're not as jacked or tough, obviously, as the Goliaths are in combat, but they've got some good ranged weapons and speed and lightly armored troops on their side. I believe they do have jet bikes nowadays, or the equivalent, in the Ash Wastes expansion. You've got the Van Saar, which is like the tech gang. They generally have some of the best weapons and equipment. Often see them running around with plasma weaponry, which a lot of the other gangs have a hard time getting their hands on. There is a rival Goliath gang down here as well. Big brutes that, are combat monsters and not much in the way of ranged weapons, or the ranged weapons, they do have a very close range type stuff. And then the other one is the what are they called? The Caudor gang, which are like the cultist fanatic guys. I think that's. Oh, I'm sorry. What are the corpse grinders? I think that's what they're called.
Corpse grinders. Okay. Yeah, they're kind of like the corn guys.
Yeah, it's a sick name.
Cultists that, well, the name, it's all in the name. So, who wants to fight what? And we'll go from there.
I'm gonna go for the other Goliath gang.
Okay. Yeah, Corpse Grinder Cult. That's what they're called. All right, Eric, we'll start with you. So, Axton explains a lot about this gang. Clearly, people he has a very strong hatred for, as they are opposing Goliaths. He actually explains that the leader of this gang used to be one of his lieutenants, who tried to stab him in his back and broke off and made his own gang. And they've had a very intense, hate-filled rivalry ever since. And this is who you're going to be up against. He tells you that most of his... Holy shit, that's loud. He tells you that most of these guys have... are like addicted to combat stims and growth stims and things like that. They frequently try to smuggle this stuff in, and so they're usually just hopped up on all sorts of shit that makes them even crazier in combat. So what do you want to do? How do you want to go about this?
Well, I think
their territory is very similar to what you saw his gang had. It looks like his lieutenant modeled it very similar. So it's a lot of just like junkyard towns, basically. A couple racetracks for their bikes and things like that. Sump croc breeding pit, gladiatorial fighting pit, stuff like that.
because I think Loktar would have picked that because it was the rival gang and trying to
show off.
Not just show off, but kind of we can work together, kind of partnership sort of thing.
Okay. All right. So basically, you tell me how you want to go about this, and that'll determine which skill you're going to use to go up against them. They're only going to have one skill they're going to use. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you might be able to infer it from my descriptions. So you decide what's best and how you want to go about this, utilizing whatever you have in the tribe.
Okay. Am I able to land basically anything from the tribe? Or am I restricted by what can come down in the Balkans?
You're not going to be able to fit any of your phytobombas down here. And you probably can't fit any of the death dreads.
Okay. But I could probably get a couple war bikes.
Oh, definitely in this area. Yeah, because they've got the tracks.
Okay. Yeah, then I think I want to bring down some more bikers.
Okay.
And show off the bigger bikes with the guns.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then maybe some... Yeah, the bikers.
Okay. Biker mob it is. So I want you to give me... I would say you can either do piloting, if you're relying on the speed and maneuverability of your bikes to try to win the day, or weapon skill if your guys are going to get stuck in. I think those are probably the two most...
Ooh.
Oh man. You gonna get stuck in?
I think I'm gonna go with weapon. I think I'm gonna go with weapon skill. Get stuck in and kind of really show what we're worth as orcs.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
I bet Axon would appreciate that too.
Yeah. Well, I meant to tell you before you roll, I'm going to give you a bonus dice for bringing the bikes. That's a good choice down here.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you another bonus because when you start to reveal these plans, Axton actually joins you and is right there in the thick of it with you. So going with weapon skill, he appreciates that.
Oh.
Ooh, 2 more. 7.
All right, what's your total?
7 successes.
Okay, it's opposed. Do you want to do anything else?
Want to throw in a glory?
Do we have glory?
Too.
There's 2 glory, and you
I'll
still have your wrath.
Guess I'll use one of my rafts.
Okay.
Nice.
Ooh, another 6.
And I'll use. Oh,
So how many is that now?
I think I'll say
9, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
7, 8, 9.
Okay.
I think I'll save the glory in case you guys need it.
Okay.
I think I'm feeling pretty good about this.
All right. It is a tough, bloody fight, but in the end, your numbers and your determination win the day as you and Axton come face to face with his lieutenant. And, well, let's just say he does not live to survive on the crew. And you conquer his gang, and most of them, as soon as the lieutenant is dead, are all about joining you guys when they see how badass you are and the cool shit you bring to the fight. And when they learn of exactly what's going on, they are even more hyped to join. So I'm going to keep a running total here of percentages that you guys have. You had 9 successes, they had 8, so you have 1 extra success to add to this. Okay?
So, and for the next potential launch, you mentioned that maybe even jet bikes were being employed by the Sesha gang. Is that just meta knowledge, or do we hear rumors of like fancy vehicles of some sort?
Oh no, he mentioned that, Axton did, and if you ask, he'll go into more detail. And yeah, this would come out during your planning with him. He would definitely bring that up.
Absolutely try to jump on getting involved there if that's possible.
Okay, so Steel Rippa leads the battle against the Escher gang, the sweet, like, cyberpunk, punk rock females with the cool ass fucking mohawks, and yeah, it's fucking pretty sweet.
Nice.
Their poison sniper rifles and the weird chem flamethrowers they have. Oh yeah.
Would you be able
God,
to spell that in
Can't
chat
wait.
for me, Chris?
Yes, yeah. The fucking Necromunda is so cool.
Thank you.
It is Escher, right? I'm saying that right?
Yeah, that's,
I think so,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
I know enough about Necromunda to get me by. Unfortunately, listeners, I've only
Mhm.
played the new edition once at Gen Con, and it was not a great demo. Never actually really got into it, but man, these fucking models are so cool. All right,
I know I got a pretty big Goliath gang.
nice. Apparently, I do now. After those ones that Brian snuck into that Chaos Warrior box. Okay, so when you learn about the Escher gang, Steel Rippa, you discover that the area that they have under their control is much more vertical. It's almost like several like towers or spires within the hive, multiple levels with railings and walkways and gangplanks that attach the towers to one another. And so they can actually use their jet bikes down here. So it's been hard for other gangs to even try to conquer their territory because of that. And then they do have like a lot of marksmen and stuff like that because they prefer to fight at range and only get into combat when they really need it. In which case they're pretty agile opponents, but you know, the idea, they're hard to hit, but if you hit them, you can put them down because they don't wear much in the form of armor. And you know, they're mostly just basic humans. So,
That's awesome to hear because it totally meshes with what my initial gut feeling was, which is to try to bring some the Storm Boys in with our jetpacks and tackle people off of their bikes.
okay. Well, you can definitely bring that. Is there anything else you're going to attempt as part of your plan?
I feel like, should probably try to do something clever as well. I wonder if I could, like, I don't know, fashion an EMP sort of thing. I don't know how savvy tech-wise Steel Ripa is at this point, but that would be the harebrained idea.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Get the jump on him.
Give me a tech test at... First of all, let's change the music here. We need something a little more exciting. What's this like? I don't think we've ever used this one before. We'll see. Okay, so tech test. You're making like an EMP bomb to try to give you an advantage here. Let's say DN 9.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. Ooh, that's pretty close.
6.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna Wrath.
Okay.
9.
9. Okay.
Failed it.
All right. So, you'll get some extra bonuses here, and I would say weapon skill or piloting again, since you're using fast-moving forces here, and well, then we'll give you your dice pool. So whichever one you want to use.
Definitely gonna do piloting here. Does this count as in a vehicle at top speed for the sun's bonus potentially?
Sure. Yeah. And then I'll give you another bonus for bringing speed freaks, or storm boys, and I'll give you another 2 bonus for your EMP attack.
Sorry, what were your bonuses that you've just mentioned again?
It'd be a total of +3.
Okay. This might be right then. This 2 for vehicle and top speed. Boom.
God damn.
Okay, you've got 9.
I'm gonna. Oh wait, I didn't fix my thing from earlier. I'm gonna also rat this one
Okay.
for kicks.
Sounds like a
And
plan.
Turn one.
Holy shit.
Glory.
Okay, so that was 15 down to 13 successes. Okay. You annihilate this fight. It's not even funny how one-sided it is. The Storm Boys, the Escher girls, have no answer for them. They're too fast to shoot out of the sky, and they're way more maneuverable than the bikes, just simply because the bikes are bigger. They take a little bit more to turn and bank around corners and things like that. And your EMP blast grounds some of them at some point with hilarious scenes of them spiraling out of control and plummeting back towards Earth. And yeah, it's not even a fight. Like, your orcs are bored after it's over because it's so one-sided. So you had how many? They had 2, 3. They only had 6 successes. So you absolutely crushed them.
Sick.
All right. Okay. Who's next?
So what was the there was another gang, like the
The Van Sar are like the tech gang. They've
Okay.
got the best gear and equipment. And then the Corpse Grinders, they're actually like, in some hives, they're like part of a guild where they actually are the people who grind up the corpses to make corpse starch, which is a very primary food source in much of the Imperium. But these guys are fucking lunatics that take it a step further and basically become cannibals and like run around with like butcher implements and, you know, go sacrifice them to whatever fucked up weird gods they have.
No, those guys sounds like they might be good orderlies for Peppa's clinic.
Then Cawdor, are you doing a
No,
Cawdor too?
no, I mistook Cawdor for the Corpse Grinders.
Oh,
Yeah.
Corpse Grinders. Okay.
Okay, Cawdor was the one I had heard, and I was like, I don't remember that one, so I don't know. But I guess Peppa will go after the bone grinders. Can he sort of like create, I don't know, some kind of like mold or something that infects their food and just kind of start poisoning them early on?
Oh, that's fucking brilliant. I love that. Yeah, Zin gets all in on this plan when he hears about it. He starts giving you all sorts of suggestions, like, oh, and then like we could sneak some of the grots in, and we'll sprinkle it on their food. Oh, and then like we could like feed it to one of the squigs, and then put the squig in their place, and then the squig will shit everywhere, and it'll poison their stuff. Ah, it's gonna be great.
We're gonna have so many orcs in here.
And he just during this he even puts on one of those little headbands with the little metal circle that a doctor has.
Yeah.
And like he's like LARPing the part of your orderly for this.
Living the life.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and give me a Medicaid test. DN7.
9 successes.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
You can shift one for glory if you'd like.
Oh, wait, why does it say DN10? Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I shift one for glory, it won't let me, because it...
Oh, okay, that's right. All right, yeah. That's easy enough to do. And then Zingitz will take care of getting it down there. I'll make a roll for him to see if him and his grots...
Can I shift to assist him instead of for glory, but to help him out?
Sure.
In any way? Yeah, nice.
We'll do... probably stealth, because they gotta sneak in and get it somewhere.
Right.
Give him a couple bonus dice here for that. He has 7 successes, yes. Your plan is implemented well.
Nice.
So, what about for troops? So these guys, they work basically in, for lack of a better term, like factory/slaughterhouses. So, think like any sort of classic like food factory scene from a movie where there's assembly lines and big vats with disgusting shit inside. There's the meat hooks, but instead of like, in Saw bringing out the pig's carcass, it's bringing out, a body that they throw into the vat. There's probably piles of bones everywhere, and the place just reeks of offal and dried blood.
Let's let the feral orcs come in. Or, well, yeah. Do the feral orcs have any ranged or anything?
Oh, no.
No? Okay.
Well, they've got, like, sharp sticks and throwing spears, but...
How about some burners?
Okay.
Roasted meat, you like lean into that.
Okay. All right. I think this is just going to be straight up weapon skill because it's close quarters. And you can take... I'm going to give you a bonus for the Burnaboys, and I'm going to give them a negative because they're not doing well.
Well, I'm not very good at weapon skill, so this might not go well, guys. Shit. I use my characteristics, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll use a wrath.
Okay, 4 successes.
Okay.
Ooh, what a turnaround.
Yeah.
I guess I'll throw glory in too, yeah?
So...
Oh,
there it is. A 6 on glory, finally.
10.
All right. So it would have been a tie, but they have a complication.
Nice.
However, you turn that slight victory into another crushing victory. Whatever you poison these guys with just rips through them, and they are sluggish and slow and puking and sickly and pale when you actually encounter them. And it is easy pickings for the Burnaboys as they just light everything possible on fire. They have a total of 4 successes.
Sheesh.
Annihilated. All right, Kyle, that leaves you with the Van Sar gang. These guys actually have, like, armor. And mostly it's ranged weaponry. Lots of, some plasma, even a couple heavy weapons. And they've also got these crazy, like, energy shields. Imagine, I think similar to, did you see the movie Elysium?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember towards the end, or the mercenary guy? He had that crazy energy shield thing. Like he
Okay,
was like
yeah, yeah.
the main bad guy. It's
Mhm.
like that, where it's like a wrist mounted device or arm mounted device, and then they can turn it on, and this energy shield pops up that they can basically take cover behind. That's one of their more exotic pieces of war gear they have. I mean, they have melee capabilities, but they're definitely about ranged combat, and you learn from Axton that they have their base is very like organized, almost like a military base, and they actually have like defensive structures and emplacements instead of just like some haphazard nonsense.
Okay. So you said what can't go down?
The dreads and the
Uh-huh.
fight Obamas.
Okay.
You
So
have access to everything else.
what did we recently get?
The dreads, the fight Obamas, and the tank busters are the newest.
Ooh,
Uh,
tank busters.
The
Oh,
newest
okay.
additions.
So can I would I be able to kind of have a few different type of things if I'll explain. So I'm thinking maybe tank busters to go after the defensive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then beast snaggers and handlers to kind of get them off their game, because
Yeah.
those guys will zigzag everywhere.
Definitely. Okay. This is definitely going to be weapon skill.
Okay.
I will give you a +3 bonus here. Tank busters are going to be key in helping crack things open.
Mhm.
And the beast snaggers are a good choice because they are tough, so they're not going to go down right away when they get shot.
Mhm.
I'm sure you can guess what skill these guys are going to be rolling against.
Oh,
So
also,
Mhm.
question meta-wise, would this be displaying some cunning?
if you win, yes.
Okay. Cool.
Because Mork doesn't like losers.
Well, speaking of
Gotcha.
cunning,
He only likes
What?
winners.
I think we should just take a quick beat to think about if this problem could be solved by boarding torpedoes, as it so often is.
No, you can't see where these guys are from up in orbit.
Okay.
It's a
just
boarding
wanted to
torpedo.
make that
You don't
clear.
need to see.
And I
What if we
There's-
launch it like a catapult? It just
there's-
arcs up and then over.
Yeah, Scorcher didn't think of that though.
there's
Yeah,
just
but-
places in the Underhive the boarding torpedo's not gonna fit. So
Not the mutant module. Damn it.
Yeah. Go ahead and give me your weapon skill test, please.
Okay. So 3 bonus.
Yes. Okay.
Complication.
You've got 8 successes with a complication. All right, we won't worry about that right now.
Do you have any wrath left?
No. So
Oof.
I will do a glory.
You used all your wrath already?
Yeah.
What did you use your wrath? I don't even remember.
Wait, did I?
Yeah, I just don't think you reset it at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't think you've used any wrath, man.
Oh. Well, oh, you know what? It probably was. I probably did it on the Imperator character sheet.
Oh yeah, the Imperator has wrath right now,
Nice.
as it should.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, yeah. Let me do a little bit of a reroll there. Okay.
12 successes. Okay, so it is a tough fight. You definitely have the upper hand, but these guys make you pay for every inch of territory you take. A lot of orcs get shot down. But eventually the tenacity, especially of the beast snaggas combined with the tank bustas, their defenses are just broken and smashed to rubble, and the beast snaggas are able to endure enough where eventually, once one of them gets in close, it's like that little part of the line collapses, and then more and more orcs pour in as the gunfire is less and less. And then it's once you're in melee, it's just mostly a slaughter fest here. Your assault probably takes the most casualties, but it quickly becomes the biggest story as it was the best and toughest fight in all four of them. And your boys are very excited with all the cool shit they get to loot and all the gear and trinkets they find. So you're kind of in the middle as far as success goes, but it's definitely gets the story of the most fun battle. So this takes probably at least, oh man, I would imagine at least a week or two of fighting. I mean, there's a lot of territory to cover. It's not just one battle and it's over. This represents multiple battles as you back and forth fighting. Most of your victories are swift and rather crushing, especially Steel Spittas and Peppa's. You're two. I'm sorry, Steel Rippa. Steel Spit is the other guy. He's dead. Steel Rippa and Peppa. Your fights, your battle fronts go the quickest and smoothest with the littlest resistance. But it takes some time to get all this done. But the orcs are having a grand old time, and the Reavers are impressed with the sheer amount of violence and crazy shit that you guys do, and they seem to fit right in, joining you alongside to get revenge on these rival gangs. And for the most part, they fight like orcs. They love to get up close and just beat things to death with their weapons. The chain axes make for gory spectacles, and when they don't have a chain axe, you just beat them to death with your shotgun. And these guys can take a beating unlike any human you've ever seen. They're not as robust as your orcs. You know, a gunshot's still lethal, but unless it's like a headshot or a chest shot, these guys are able to go through injuries that would definitely slow down or incapacitate a regular human. So they're, easily start to form some bonds of brotherhood with some of the greenskins in the tribe. And yeah, it's a very successful. Now, over the course of more time, you guys also begin to assimilate other gangs that you take over, or others hear what's going on and start to rally to your banner. During this time, you conscript or enslave any of like the regular humans that you find. There's just tons, and it's just constantly drop ships going back and forth between the surface and back up to the planet. You might even manage to get yourself a ship here and there. The orcs can't help but go looting stuff they're not supposed to. You can't keep them all under lock and key all the time. So you probably get a couple other ships here and there to help the ferrying back and forth. So we will do a couple rolls here as you repair the ships, and I'm going to calculate your population you get here. So let me make a few things here. If whoever's going to do their tech test, you got 2 weeks worth of tech tests here.
All right.
Reroll?
I think so.
We can have the crews do tech tests, right?
Well, I hope so. Loktar can't do
Yeah,
it.
Peppa's only got 4 dice, so.
Do we have the option?
I don't know.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I think the crew has a better rating anyway.
Right.
Ain't that cool? Yeah. Now, sure. So we got a pretty wild crew now.
Yeah.
What is the name of the ones I was facing? The Van what gang?
Vansar.
Van Sar.
Okay, so to start, very simply, with all the gangs and everything that you start to conquer and accumulate, you guys can add a total of 50 crew to each ship. The only exception to that is the Machina. If you start to do that, the Machina is going to drop down to crew rating of 6 instead of 8.
If the ship doesn't need 50 crew, does it just go to max, or does that crew carry over for somebody else?
You can put it to another ship. That's fine.
Yeah, because the Fury, I don't think needs 50 crew.
Well, you know what? Because you guys are still going to do your acquisition tests anyway, so just do 50 per ship. Let's not overcomplicate this.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Extra crew are fed to the squigs.
They earned it.
Well, the guys I took over are cannibals, so they probably get fed to them too.
It is like Dark Knight. You give them a broken pool cue, you know? Spaces are limited.
Aggressive expansion. It's on Netflix. I should watch that again.
We are having tryouts.
Good times. Does the crew going up increase the morale, or does that stay separate?
No, morale is separate. When you do the acquisition test, that'll be the next thing we'll do. You can choose what level you try to recruit at. So, are there any ships that are back up to 100 that don't need to worry about this now?
The Purging Fury.
Okay.
Scarlet Creed.
Yeah, Benevolence is good also.
Let me check the Jackal's Contempt was the other one I was given.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Jackal's Contempt is empty. It's a ghost ship.
Mm-hmm. And they're rank 6 now. They're no longer 8.
No.
They're all dead. Okay.
Does that change their stats all to 6s?
Yes. So make sure all their stats are 6 instead of 8. All right. Next, we'll do the acquisition tests. So this will represent you now that you've made some sort of name for yourself in the Underhive, or perhaps for people that are starting to come to you to join the crews, or just going out and putting out the call like, hey, we got money, we got scrap, we got food, we got a way off this planet, come join our crew and join the badass motherfuckers that are taking over the hive. Okay, so listeners, we just skipped ahead in time here, and we did a bunch of repair rolls and recruiting and morale raising. So real quick, captains, tell us where your ships are sitting for crew morale and hull. I think the ships are in a much better state. We'll start off with Loktar.
Right, so I have the Vindication and the Gambit. Alright, and you said an additional 10. So I am sitting at 58 out of 60 for hull, 49 out of 99 for morale. Not great still.
Okay.
And 98 out of 100 for crew.
Okay.
The Gambit is 30 out of 35 for hull, 100 out of 100 for crew, and 82 out of 100 for morale.
Okay. All right. Sean, rather than just tell us the numbers, you just tell us how it's looking. We don't need a breakdown here. Give a general idea.
Okay.
Sure. So the Purging Fury is looking almost tip-top shape, and the the Jackal's Contempt is slowly clawing its way back from the brink of death.
Okay. Well, at least it's not all fucked up anymore from the
The absolute reaming we gave it. Yeah.
Yeah, your repairs did not go well, did they?
It's only got 7 hull. Yeah.
How did you only get 7 hull?
I rolled like shit.
Well, clearly.
Yeah.
Goodness.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I was busy doing other important shit. I couldn't fix my stuff, bro.
That's true. Okay, Kyle, how's your 2 ships looking?
Okay, well, I have the Scarlet Creed, and that ship is doing great, and everybody seems to really like being there.
Okay.
as for the Imperator, the hull is doing great. Crew is populated, and everybody fucking hates it.
Well,
Morale is low as fuck.
I mean, considering it was at 0, it's better than
Yeah.
where it was, right? So
Yeah, but I did use the requisition thing to bump me up from competent +6 to whatever +8 is.
okay.
On the
Veteran
Imperator.
is +8.
Veteran,
Okay.
yeah.
And then Matt, how's your ships looking?
Oh, the Rex has a fantastic crew thanks to Peppa's efforts. But their morale is still kind of low. Could be worse. Not great. Hull-wise, still in the 2/3 range. The Benevolence, the little ship, is doing great. Everything's fine over there. The 36 hull that I repaired was exactly the amount to get it from 0 to its max hull, so that's pretty awesome. And yeah, no complaints on that side, it sounds like.
Yeah, we had quite a few criticals for the repair rolls on the hull, and a couple complications with riots breaking out for some of that. So a little bit of morale damage here and there, but for the most part, at least all your ships are operational again. And we've had one or two ships upgrade their crew to the next level. So the fleet is in much better shape now. So that's really good. The escorts in particular seem to really be crushing it. So that's very good. So this is after about 2 weeks of time has gone by. So the question is, what would you guys do next? Would you stay here to continue repairs and try to fill more crew and morale, or are you gonna set off to somewhere else?
I think our sight's set on. Is it Capra? No, Cobalt.
Right. Wherever the Fortress Monastery of the Death Watch was, right?
You really want to go to that fucking base, don't you?
Why would we not want to raid a place with unlimited treasures, Chris? Come on.
That's true. Okay, well, that's going to be a 12-week warp jump to get us started next week. And go back to Cobalt and check it out. So, okay, well, we will do that next week, folks. And we'll see what the fleet decides to do now that they are back operational once more. And we'll see what happens when they get to the ye old Death Watch base. So we're just about at the end here, so I think it's a good place to call it. Unless players, any questions about anything?
No?
No?
Not tonight.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, listeners, for joining us. And we'll see what happens at the Death Watch base next week. So be sure to join us as we creep closer to the finish line here. Thank you all so much for joining us. We will see you on the flip side. Same time, same place. A nighty night.